Hey everybody, my name's Kyle and this is Track by Track, music reviews, news, and commentary. Today I'll be checking out American Dream, the highly anticipated new album from the reunited LCD Soundsystem. Does this album live up to the hype, or is it as disappointing as its unimaginative cover art? Seriously, pretty much everybody hates this thing. But of course, it's the music that matters, and I'll be diving into that in a second. But first, it's bonus track trivia. Let's test your knowledge about LCD calculators. In 1973, the first LCD pocket calculator was produced by what company? Was it Casio, Sharp, Texas Instruments, or Timex? I'll have the answer coming up at the end of the video, so stay tuned. And remember, Google is cheating, and Bing is just kind of sad. So let's talk LCD Soundsystem. This is a band I discovered pretty late in the game, honestly. I'd heard a song or two, but never really checked them out until they were on the verge of breaking up. In spring of 2011, there was all this buzz about the band staging a farewell concert at Madison Square Garden. With all that excitement, I thought I should really check these guys out now that they're, over with and all. So my point of entry for LCD Soundsystem was their quote-unquote final album, 2010's This Is Happening, and I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. There's a throwback kind of vibe to the music that has an alt-80s new wave feel to it. It reminds me of early New Order before they went disco. Or you listen to a song like Drunk Girls, which I could totally have heard the Cars doing before they were all MTV poster boys. All I Want goes even further back, practically lifting its melody and droning guitars from David Bowie's Heroes. After getting into This Is Happening, I checked out Sound of Silver, which seems to be universally considered as their best album. And of course, I had to finish my backward journey with the self-titled LCD Soundsystem debut album, which opens with the irresistible Daft Punk Is Playing at My House. I liked it all, and maybe it's not coincidental that my personal ranking of those first three albums follows my order of discovery. I still find myself listening to This Is Happening the most. So, where does American Dream fall into the mix? Well, let's start right at the first track on the album. Oh Baby starts with a pulsating beat with that trademark synth bass sound taking the melody, and you know right away this is an LCD Soundsystem album. That alt-80s sound I talked about before is in full effect here. In fact, the song sounds like it could have been on the soundtrack from Pretty in Pink, right alongside Psychedelic Furs and OMD. Lyrically though, the song actually feels decades older, like from the 50s maybe. I could totally hear these exact lyrics over a doo-wop style song. Oh baby, oh sugar. It would totally work. All that being said, I think this is actually one of the weaker tracks on the album. Some of the things happening here are interesting, but they become less so on repeat listenings. The second track kicks things up a notch. Other Voices opens with a rhythm and bass line that sound like Talking Heads' Nothing But Flowers, until the synth kicks in. And then when James Murphy's vocals come in, we hear this is going to be one of those more talky LCD songs. In fact, this really strikes me as a new version of Us v Them from This Is Happening. Unfortunately, the new song lacks a hook or lyrical sentiment to really latch onto. You're still a pushover for passionate people, and you're just a baby now, as repeated sentiments don't have the same grip as It's Us v Them over and over again. But Other Voices does feature a really interesting guitar solo, which will be the first of several great guitar highlights on this album. And as the song winds down, we get Nancy Wang rapping on the bridge, which gives the song a bit of a wait what sort of moment. Now, I've mentioned a New Order influence on the earlier LCD Soundsystem albums, but track 3 on American Dream goes even deeper into pre-New Order days. We're talking Joy Division here. And this is the first of several tracks on the album that have that vibe. There's these dark synth highlights that sound like Soft Cell, or dare I say, Come Back and Stay by Paul Young. And I love the crunchy guitar solo, followed by the falsetto vocal at the end repeating the line, I'm still trying to wake up. That's backed by these droning guitars that could come from any song on The Cure's Pornography album. This is one of the best tracks on the album. Seriously, I'd like a whole album in this style. And it starts to sound like we could even get that as we move into Change Your Mind. The music remains dark, and we get these fantastic discordant guitar sounds accenting the whole thing that remind me of some of the noisier moments on David Bowie's albums in the 1990s. Over this, we get typical antisocial lyrics like, I have a penny for your thoughts if you keep them to yourself. The Joy Division vibe keeps on going with How Do You Sleep, but I'm also getting a bit of a Jim Morrison feeling in both the vocal delivery and the mystical sounding lyrics. Standing on the shore facing east, your impermanence, you're taking water, listing lazily out of view. I'm also getting a bit of a Uma Guma era Pink Floyd thing on this track, and not just in the music, but in the vocal. James Murphy actually kind of sounds like David Gilmour here, if David Gilmour sang a Doors song maybe. That's weird. Anyway, the first half of the song is built around this percussive loop, but in the second half, that trademark LCD bouncy synth hit takes over the rhythm and things start to get interesting. Still, at over 8 minutes, this song starts to wear out its welcome. It does evolve as it goes along, but not fast enough for me. It takes longer than it needs to reach its destination. Finally, the end fades into Tonite. This is the most recent single from the album, so you've probably already got it on at least one playlist. And you know it's an obvious single, really. It's probably going to end up being the biggest hit from the album. And I like it, too. We've swapped the Joy Division sound for more of a Daft Punk jam. And that's clear in the instrumentation and especially the robotic vocal harmonies. If you want to look for more New Order influences on this song, I'd say it jumps forward to their late 80s disco sound, like on the Technique album. The middle section of the album is anchored by the previously released singles, and Call the Police comes next. This is likely the first song you heard from this album when it was released back in May, and it was a good choice for a first single on a comeback album because it's probably the most LCD Soundsystem sounding song on the record. I mean, you probably heard this song and were like, yes, LCD Soundsystem is back. I mean, that chorus lyric, and we don't waste time with love, that's trademark LCD. Otherwise, though, the lyrics don't have a lot of deep things to say. It's more of a constant stream of forced rhymes on the verses, and yet again, the track goes on too long. If they cut just one verse from the song, I think it would be an improvement. It just does not need to be a 7-minute song. The trilogy of singles concludes with the album's title track. American Dream was released with Call the Police, so again, we've been listening to this for a few months now. And it's an okay song, but what I could totally see happening with this song is LCD Soundsystem appearing as one of the musical guests on the new Twin Peaks revival series. I mean, can't you just hear this song in Twin Peaks? Musically, it's extremely reminiscent of Angelo Badalamenti's score from the show, right down to the unapologetically 80s synthesized strings and the cascading chimes. And the way it closes with the shebang shebang background vocals. Can't you just see Donna and Maddie backing James Hurley in the Palmer living room on this song? No? Anyway. Emotional Haircut. This song brings back the Joy Division sound. Lyrically, it could be a response to the self-pitying story of the previous track, with the singer now taking rash steps to feel something different. Oddly, the pronouns change halfway through the song. It starts as I and my, but morphs into you and your. There's even some we. In the beginning, it's my emotional haircut, but then it turns into your emotional haircut. Is the singer projecting his own dysfunction on his companions? I'm not sure there's a logical answer. In any case, this is the heaviest moment on this, or probably any LCD Soundsystem album. We've even got echoes of Patti Smith in the final moments as the vocals and guitars rage. As lyrically schizophrenic as the song may be, it's still one of the album's highlights. The final song on American Dream is Black Screen, which may or may not be a tribute to David Bowie, who is somewhat of a mentor to James Murphy. You fell between a friend and a father, he sings. As the song closes, he seems to be staring up at the night sky in remembrance. You could be anywhere on the black screen, he says, as if searching for the Starman. It's kind of a downbeat ending for the album. I mean, the other LCD albums were all party right up until the end. With a running time of 12 minutes, it's also the longest song on the album. The instrumentation and piano outro is really nice, but we don't need almost 5 minutes of it. In fact, the melody actually changes enough to the point where the second half of the track seems like a completely different song built around a similar theme. It actually sounds a lot like the soundtrack work Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails has been doing for several years now. And that's fine on its own, but I'm not really digging it here. For me, American Dream ends with its least engaging track. But the album isn't really over. Well, technically it is. But right before the album came out, LCD Soundsystem shared a free download of a bonus track for the album, which Murphy suggests belongs at the end of the album's track list. But Pulse V1 is actually unlike anything else on the record. It's over 13 minutes of synth loops and arpeggios, entirely instrumental. It's definitely electronica, though the drums do sound real. And I like how the music evolves as the track progresses. I mean, it's a long track, but it changes as it goes, keeping things fresh and interesting. I like it, but I don't think it fits on or with the album. If it had actually followed the last track of American Dream, it would have been tedious. Even substituted for Black Screen, it would not have been a good fit. As a standalone single or maybe a B-side, I dig it, and it's definitely worth downloading, or wait for the eventual single/EP release of the track, which James Murphy suggests is on his to-do list. So the American Dream comes to an end, and once again, LCD Soundsystem is back in the musical landscape of our lives. I'm happy about that, honestly, but at the same time, I don't buy into all the hype around this band. They're very good at what they do. They really being James Murphy, I guess. But I think a lot of the superlatives being tossed around describing LCD Soundsystem, and maybe even this album, are going a bit overboard. This is a pretty good album, about half of which I really like a lot. So I'm a little on the fence of how I'd rate it. In the LCD discography, I think I'd rank This Is Happening and Sound of Silver higher, putting American Dream in third place. In the end, I'm giving American Dream by LCD Soundsystem an X rating of 7. A strong 7, but still a 7. And here's hoping we don't have to go through another breakup fake out before we hear new music. Alright, let's jump back in the bonus track trivia time machine and head back to 1973, the year of Roe v. Wade, the opening of the Sears Tower as the world's tallest building, the launch of the Skylab space station, and the release of the first LCD pocket calculator by which electronics company? Was it Casio, Sharp, Texas Instruments, or Timex? The answer is Sharp. The EL805 from Sharp was the first calculator with a liquid crystal display that was small enough to be considered pocket size. The calculator was made in Japan, featured an 8-digit display, ran on a single AA battery, and sold in the US for $109.95. Once again, my name's Kyle and this is Track by Track, music reviews, news, and commentary. If you're digging it, please be sure to click the old thumbs up icon, and better yet, click subscribe, because true music fans always want new releases the day they come out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.